My name is Deepi Kaur, and today is 2nd of August 2014. I was about 13 years old. We lived in Delhi. We lived around Preet Vihar area. I do remember vaguely. Born in a very sick and staunch family, and with strong values, it had impacted us quite a bit. Even though we didn't talk a whole lot because we were still little, it wasn't talked openly, but because my father was really, staunch in the religion, I think he was very hurt. As far as I remember, I was in chemistry lab in school. I studied in Guru Har Krishan Public School, and we were in chemistry lab, and all of a sudden we heard the news about the Indira Gandhi, the Prime Minister of India at the time, Indira Gandhi, and after coming back, I don't think we thought much of it, and it happened to be, I think, a couple days before the actual incidents. And 31st of October, the day, the fateful day, I remember very distinctly that my Mamaji's son was born, and he was the only son. My mom only had one brother. There were 7 sisters, and he was the only son. So it was like a big celebration for all of us in the whole Nanke. So we were celebrating, and I think it was misinterpreted as a gesture. The gesture was misinterpreted by people as we are celebrating the death of Indira Gandhi. We had a gas station, and the way it was built was like we had a gas station in front, and we lived kind of right behind that. When we say we were like 2 chachajis and us, we were all in the same house. And I think that triggered a lot of people. They just misinterpreted that we are celebrating the death of Indira Gandhi, and that kind of just instigated them. So that was the beginning of the incidents. The first, what I remember is that because it was a gas station, they put a fire on the gas station, and then after that, I think there were a lot of people who just kind of gathered outside our house, and they started to throw rocks and stones on us, and we all lived in the same house, and we were all together at least. I remember that my dad was not home and my older sister were not home. They were actually at my Puaji's house, and that was really the last thing we heard about them. And fortunately, we had we called him a Panditji, and I still remember him, very fond memories of him. And he was a very, very loyal person in our, who worked with my dad very closely, and he was actually a very staunch Hindu, but he was really the guy who came to our rescue. And so his mission was to find out where my dad was. So within hours, I think what I remember is that there was a lot of people in hundreds who accumulated right outside our house, and they started to throw rocks and just whatever they could get their hands on. And so what my Chachaji had decided at the time, that there was a very bleak chance that we would have survived, considering that we were only 15 or so, the whole entire family, and there were like hundreds of people outside. My Chachaji had an idea. So he pulled a gas cylinder from the kitchen, and he went out in the balcony, and he just shouted that we are going to die anyways. So you know what? If you want to die, you stay here, because I'm going to throw this gas cylinder. So those people were really not, they were just a mob. They were obviously not, their lives were still important to them, I guess. So for a while, they all disappeared. So the moment they disappeared, we just kind of just wrapped up quick, and my Masi lived about few miles from us, and in the meantime, we were all making calls to each other to make sure that everybody's okay. So my Masi, the place where she lived, she actually had a more secure area, and there were a lot of people who supported them, and we all decided to go there. So we were about 50 people in one house. because she kind of just accommodated everyone that we could think of, because we were a big family, a joint family, 3 chachajis and all the kids and everybody else, you know, and their family. So we actually went to their house. I think we probably lived there for 10 days, you know. In the meantime, that the Panditji, I was we called him Panditji because he always put a tilak, and he was a, you know, staunch Hindu. In the meantime, you know, when he showed up to work the next day, he realized that koi hai nahi utthe garage. So he started to actually look for us, and he knew my Masi, so he contacted us. He walked. He didn't have any means of transportation, and he walked, and he made sure that we were secure. We told him that how we don't know whereabouts of our other relatives, like especially my dad and my Puaji and everybody else. So, and we are still indebted to him that he went to all the gurdwaras, and he located them. And they were all fine. They were actually in Mata Sundari Gurdwara. That's where they could find a spot. So we didn't unite for a good 15 days, but we knew that they were fine. And that's the biggest part of the incidents that I remember. After that, the other most important thing I really remember is getting news from the school. A lot of kids didn't make it. A lot of kids had their parents who didn't make it, and our school, because we had a lot of branches, one of the school, the Loni Road school, was totally destroyed, and so it was very hard for us to go back to school and find your friends missing. I don't know if you know, we could think a whole lot about it because of the age factor. We just, I think, besides being scared and nervous and a lot of uncertainty, you know, it was definitely sad. It was also like a lot of, I remember one of my classmates who actually happens to be in California right now. He did cut his hair at the time, and you know, that made me feel really bad, you know, because we were given the instructions that if something does happen, don't hesitate to die. And that made me sad that the same instructions were not given to him, or he didn't feel the same about what we felt. But everybody has a different perspective. But I know that I was raised in a family where they said it's, you know, you don't have to, just don't worry about, you know, giving up your life. And that's what we stuck to. And I think it has impacted me because I have always, while people hesitate to talk about it, I don't hesitate to talk about it. I don't have any nightmares per se, but flashback in a sense that I do think about people who have lost their lives, and how, especially that little area in Delhi where people were most impacted, the Lokpuri, when I remember, and how their lives had changed. I think about them, and I feel that, you know, things could have been better or different. I don't have any nightmares because I think we were at an age where, I guess, still a very tender age where there were a lot of things to occupy us academically and, you know, other things. So, but I do remember a friend, I would not say her name, but her first name was Rosie, and she lost her father, and it was really, really, really hard to, you know, go back to school and listen to her stories. So, and things did change. My mom used to go to Seesganj Sab Gurdwara every single morning at 5 in the morning, and I think her routine changed big time. I don't remember that she went that early in the morning when it was pitch dark, because her routine was that she would leave really early in the morning when it was still dark and would come back before we woke up for breakfast and all. And I think she stopped doing that for a long time. I mean, it took her a while before she could go back to her routine. So I would say yes, it impacted her quite a bit, because she's one person who she's one person who doesn't like to come here, is because she's so fond of her routine of going to the Gurdwara Sahib and her independence, that she feels dependent here. She can't follow her norms, and it really, it impacted her, because it was almost like fish out of water, that she couldn't do what she had always wanted to do. But fortunately, she's back on a routine. Yeah, I mean, things have changed, times have changed. They're not the same, and so she is back on her routine, which makes me really happy, yeah. And I think that couple years back, when we went to India, we bought a book, 1984. I think my son picked a book because he actually wanted to read on whatever I told him. So it has, because he had the desire to know about it, he wanted to read about it, and he expressed how he felt about Sikhism. I think that was a success in a way. I think if as a parent I felt that if I talk about 1984, it would impact my son, I could be right. It definitely can impact him. But if my son comes and tells me that he wants to know, then I shouldn't stop him from knowing, stop him from, asking or knowing what happened. Because I think if they volunteer, then they are entitled to have some information.